Hello and welcome to another episode of NewsX Deepdive. My name is Vineet Malhotra, where today we turn our attention to another dramatic policy U-turn by the United States of America. US President Donald Trump has laid down a simple plan. Sanctions eased, oil released markets and stabilized, but questions remain. Why now? Will it work? And who benefits this the most? In a significant move amidst a growing global energy crisis, the Trump administration has issued a 30-day sanctions waiver, allowing the sale of Iranian oil stranded at the sea to ease global energy supply pressures triggered by the ongoing US-Israel war with Iran. Announcing the move on social media, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that the step is aimed at quickly stabilizing markets by unlocking existing supply. Bessent stated, by temporarily unlocking this existing supply for the world, the United States will quickly bring approximately 140 million barrels of oil to global markets. Well, the waiver permits the sale of Iranian crude and petroleum products already loaded on vessels between March 20th and April 19th, according to a Treasury Department license. Officials have also stressed that the authorization is limited and does not allow new production or fresh purchases. Bessent framed the decision as a targeted intervention to counter disruptions caused by the conflict. He elaborated that this temporary short-term authorization is strictly limited to oil that is already in transit and does not allow new purchases or production. And according to Bessent, the move will expand global energy supply and help ease price pressures. However, he asserted that the US will use Iranian barrels against Tehran to keep prices down as it continues Operation Epic Fury. So why has the United States decided to ease the pressure now? Because the global oil system is under stress and the effects are visible. The Strait of Hormuz, a lifeline for global energy, continues to remain effectively disrupted. Oil prices have surged past $100 a barrel and remain volatile. And supply chains are tightening across Asia and beyond. And so the world faces a situation where there isn't enough oil moving and prices are rising. With the global energy crisis looming, the matter isn't just about economics, it's geopolitics. Trump's broader Iran policy has been based on maximum pressure and trying to reduce Iran's oil exports to zero. So why backtrack? There are a number of reasons behind this move. Firstly, controlling oil prices. High oil prices directly hurt American consumers, global growth, as well as political stability. Releasing Iranian oil is the fastest way to inject supply into the market. Secondly, war disruptions. The ongoing war has disrupted shipping, threatened tankers, and choked one of the world's busiest oil routes. Remember, nearly 1/5 of global oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz, so even a partial disruption creates a global ripple effect. The waiver also provides tactical flexibility. This is not a full policy reversal, but a move that is temporary, limited to oil that is already at sea, and still restricts Iran's ability to access revenue. The US is thus trying to ease global supply without fully empowering Iran. So let's look at what this will mean for markets, specifically India. Before Trump's 2018 sanctions kicked in fully, Iran was one of India's top oil suppliers, with India importing millions of tons annually, 12.6% of India's crude in 2016-17. However, since 2019, India has imported zero Iranian crude due to US sanctions. For India, the effect was largely due to its heavy dependence on West Asian oil routes. In early 2026, about 50% of India's crude oil imports, that is roughly 2.5 to 2.7 million barrels per day, pass through the Strait of Hormuz. This is critical as India imports over 88% of its total crude oil requirement, with major suppliers including Iraq, Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Kuwait. And now for the big shift. With the US waiver in place, Indian refiners are actively exploring a return to Iranian oil. Reports suggest that refiners in India and across Asia are evaluating purchases, with refiners awaiting government directions and clarity from Washington on details such as payment terms. With stockpiles running low and Iranian crude often cheaper and well suited to India and Indian refineries, Indian refiners are preparing to turn back to Iran. India has recently increased imports from Russia to compensate for these disruptions, but diversification matters. So Iranian oil becomes a backup supply option, a cost-effective alternative, and a strategic lever in energy security. So while this does not mark a full return yet, with payment mechanisms and logistics still under question, India is testing the waters again. Refiners in India, which has much smaller crude stockpiles than other big Asian oil importers, are already feeling the crunch. But complications remain. The bigger picture? Let's look at the irony. The US is actively fighting a war involving Iran, with Scott Bessent asserting that Operation Epic Fury will continue. It is also sanctioning Iran economically, but at the same time, the US is allowing Iranian oil to flow into global markets, because in today's world, energy security often overrides political consistency. This comes as mixed messages poured in, with the war showing no signs of abating. Iran earlier threatened to expand its retaliatory attacks as the US announced it was sending more warships to the region. Hours later, President Trump announced that his administration was considering winding down military operation in the region. However, both sides have asserted that there will be no ceasefire. In such a case, diversification and ensuring energy security becomes paramount. It is no surprise then that India, like many others, is considering importing Iranian crude once again in the face of the US waiver. So here's the bottom line. Trump did not lift the oil ban because relations improved. He did it because oil prices are rising, supply chains are strained, and the global economy is at risk. For India, this could mean a short-term opportunity, strategic recalibration, and possibly a cautious return to Iranian crude. But the larger story remains unresolved, because once the 30-day window closes, the world may once again face the same question. Can geopolitics and energy markets ever truly be separated? Let's talk about this and more with senior economist Mr. Ajay Dua. Sir, appreciate you being here with us. Well, how do you look at this, like the word that I use, this irony that the Americans, of course want to destroy Iran, but at the same time, they also want to sell their oil?
Thank you, Vinit. You've explained it rather well and quite comprehensively what's happening around the world. And talking about why it is being done, you refer to it as well. I like to only add two things to it. One, the US is doing it because it will like to bring about a greater stability in the prices, crude oil prices around the world. Around the world matters to the US as a very large trading country itself, but it matters more to it within the US. Right now it's not so keen to export its oil as it is keen to settle the matters in the in West Asia, whether it started consciously or inadvertently, I won't comment on this show, but the fact remains that they are deeply concerned about the rising prices of global oil and other hydrocarbons, and they would like that to be brought down. At the same time, they're going to be using this, saying we have allowed the oil which is on the high seas, loaded till yesterday, and on the high seas till the 19th of April, to also pass through the Strait of Hormuz. If it is not going further, if it is not reaching the destinations, particularly in Asia, for which the Strait of Hormuz is a very critical channel or a passage, the pressure would be on other countries who have so far refused, other countries meaning its allies, who have refused to cooperate with it on opening up of the Strait of Hormuz. So this is another way to pressurize them, saying that the oil is available, oil can go, why are you guys not helping us to keep the passage open? And at the same time, the pressure will build on Iran itself, saying, look, it's your oil as well which is passing through, and probably for India, as you mentioned, the Iranian oil has characteristics which are preferred in India. Indian oil refineries, most of them were created to treat the oil which Iran produces, and at one point of time, 1/8 of Indian oil used to come from there, Indian crude. And at the same time, logistically, it is the closest to India. So the cost of moving it is also low. I would think that these are 2 or 3 reasons which are being made use of by President Trump and his team to force Iran not to do a service to Iran in any big manner, but to be able to get the benefit of these couple of things, including getting allies on board, and at the same time not hurting any further the consumers in the US in particular, who are all very upset, saying, why the hell did you start this war? Sorry for the language. And what is it, how is it impacting the US? US is getting adversely impacted. So those kind of adverse aspects also would have weighed heavily in US administration's mind when this move was announced yesterday.
You're quite right, sir. Appreciate you taking out the time and speaking with us, sir. Thank you for that.